All right, diving in, we've got a whole stack of excerpts here from Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. And let me tell you, this is going to be juicy.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about a book that's practically a guidebook to getting ahead, using, all those fascinating examples from history and literature.
Exactly. And today, we're pulling out the most intriguing bits, the ones you can actually use.
Right, because it's not just about recognizing these power dynamics. It's about, well, understanding how they actually work and then figuring out how can you use them to your advantage.
Okay, so not turning everyone into Machiavelli, but giving you the knowledge to, let's say, navigate things a little more strategically.
Exactly.
All right, so let's jump right in. First up on the list, we have Law 6, court attention at all cost.
Ooh, good one. Think about it. In a world that's constantly screaming for your attention, you have to find a way to stand out. You have to cut through the noise.
Right. Make yourself memorable.
Exactly. It's like Count Lustig. Remember that infamous con man?
Oh, yeah, vaguely.
Well, he really cultivated this air of mystery around himself, and he used that to become unforgettable, well, and to swindle people, of course.
Okay, well, swindling aside, that's actually pretty brilliant. It's not about being the loudest or the flashiest, but about crafting that presence, the kind that makes people remember you. And hopefully for the right reasons.
Yeah, for sure.
So how can our listeners apply this in their own lives? I mean, maybe it's about, highlighting your unique skills in a job interview or using storytelling to make your presentations more engaging.
Absolutely. It could even be as simple as dressing in a way that reflects your personality.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yep.
It's about finding that special something, that thing that sets you apart from the crowd.
Exactly. All right, ready for the next one? This one is a bit more, well, controversial.
Oh, I love controversial. Lay it on me.
Law 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit.
Ooh. Okay, yeah, that's definitely going to spark some debate. I mean, it sounds a little shady at first glance.
But hear me out. While the book definitely delves into some, let's say, morally ambiguous territory, there's a real lesson here about delegation, about teamwork. It's about leveraging other people's strengths, right?
I see where you're going with this. So
Yeah.
it's not about exploiting others, but about smart delegation.
Exactly. It's about putting together a team, getting the best out of everyone.
I like it. So are you thinking of any particular examples from history where this played out?
Well, think about Edison and Tesla. I mean, Edison is often hailed as this genius inventor, right? But he actually took credit for a lot of work that was primarily done by Tesla.
Oh, wow. Talk about a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
It reminds us that building power, often means building a team. But you got to make sure that you're acknowledging and crediting those contributions, not exploiting them.
Right. And it also brings up the importance of, protecting your own intellectual property. I mean, I think we've all been in those situations where someone else took credit for our ideas.
Yeah, definitely been there. So frustrating.
It's about creating an environment, a collaborative one, where everyone feels valued and respected.
Okay, I'm on board with that. Now get ready for this one. Law 12. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. Wait, is this saying that honesty can be a weapon?
In a way, yes. It's about understanding the power of perception. Remember P.T. Barnum?
Oh yeah, the circus guy, the greatest showman.
Exactly, the master showman. He was a genius at this. He would often, employ this fake nurse to tend to, like, injured performers during his shows.
A fake nurse? Wait,
Yeah, like she wasn't medically trained or anything, but Barnum used her presence, her perceived caring, to create this illusion of genuine concern,
Oh, wow. So sneaky.
It's about how a seemingly genuine gesture can be used to, well, distract you from something else entirely.
That's wild. It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever been over the top nice to me? Were they trying to pull one over on me? Have you ever had that experience? Where someone's, like, excessive kindness just made you suspicious?
Oh, all the time.
Right.
And it's not always malicious, right? Sometimes it's just about, smoothing things over, getting what they want. But it's good to be aware of these tactics so you can see through them, Keep your guard up.
Yeah, definitely something to think about. Okay, ready for another law?
Hit me.
All right, Law 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. So wait, are we saying ditch the begging and figure out what the other person wants? Like, what's in it for them?
Exactly. You got to frame your request so it benefits them.
Okay, that's actually smart. So much better than just, pleading for favors.
Right. It's about understanding what motivates people, what makes them tick. The book uses the example of Joseph Duveen. Remember him, the art dealer?
Refresh my memory.
Well, he really wanted to win over Andrew Mellon, super wealthy guy, as a client. But instead of, relying on friendship or past favors, Duveen appealed to Mellon's desire to avoid, well, taxes.
Oh, smart.
Right. He found that win-win scenario, and it worked like a charm.
That is brilliant. It's like that old saying, you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Right.
Right. You're offering something they genuinely want instead of relying on guilt trips or obligation.
Yeah.
Okay. This is good stuff. What's next?
Okay, this one might sound a little bit sneaky at first. Ready. Law 14. Pose as a friend, work as a spy.
Whoa. Okay. Are we all supposed to become secret agents now? What's this all about?
Okay, maybe not full-on espionage, but it's really about the importance of gathering information, especially when you're in a competitive environment. Knowing your rivals, understanding the landscape. The book uses the example of, well, Napoleon and his foreign minister, Talleyrand. Turns out Talleyrand was actually secretly spying on him the whole time.
Whoa. What a betrayal. Talk about a backstabber. Makes you think, doesn't it? Who can you really trust?
Right. It's a reminder to be a little discerning about who you let in, even those who seem closest to you. I mean, how good are you at reading people?
I like to think I'm a good judge of character, but honestly, who knows? Maybe I'm totally naive. I tend to trust people until they give me a reason not to.
Yeah. It's a tough balance, isn't it? We don't want to be, paranoid and suspicious all the time. But a healthy dose of skepticism can definitely be helpful. Okay, moving on. Law 18. Do not build fortresses to protect yourself. Isolation is dangerous.
Okay, this sounds like it goes against everything we've heard so far, so wait, we shouldn't try to protect ourselves.
It's not about being totally defenseless, but about understanding the downsides of building walls and isolating yourself. Sometimes that can make you more vulnerable in the long run. The book contrasts, the story of Louis XIV, who built that incredible Palace of Versailles, remember, to keep his enemies close. And then you have the example of the first emperor of China, who isolated himself completely and ultimately lost control. Two very different approaches with, very different outcomes.
Wow, fascinating. That makes you wonder, what's the right approach? Do you
Yeah.
tend to isolate yourself, or do you actively try to cultivate those connections and alliances?
I think we all need a little fortress sometimes, a place to retreat and recharge. But it's about finding that balance, recognizing that isolation can be just as dangerous as, well, being surrounded by enemies.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, ready for the next one? I'm feeling bold.
Let's do it. Law 28. Enter action with boldness.
Ooh, I like it.
Mm.
So what's the strategy here?
It's about understanding the psychological impact of decisive action. You project confidence, you disrupt the status quo. Think about Pietro Retina, that writer he wrote this really scandalous book, and he boldly presented it to the Pope himself. I mean, talk about guts.
What? Seriously, what happened?
Well, he turned what could have been a, career-ending move into this major power play.
Wow, that's incredible. I think we all have those moments where we hesitate to make a move, because we're afraid to fail or what people will think. But sometimes the most impactful actions are the ones that require a little bit of courage, a little bit of boldness.
Exactly. You got to be willing to take those calculated risks.
Okay, on to the next one. Law 33. Discover each man's thumb screw. Are we talking about literal thumb screws here?
No, not at all. It's a metaphor, It refers to a person's weakness, their point of leverage.
Ah, okay, I see. So it's about figuring out what make people tick, what motivates them.
Exactly. What are their fears, their desires? The book uses the example of Daniel Drew, that ruthless financier who manipulated the stock market by playing on people's greed. He knew how to find those pressure points, those
Wow.
thumb screws, and exploit them.
Wow, that's almost like a psychological puzzle, figuring out those hidden levers.
It is. And look, we're not endorsing manipulation here, but understanding this principle can, help you in those tricky social situations.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about reading people, understanding their motivations. Okay, ready for the next one? Law 36. Disdain things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge.
Oh, this one's all about, detachment, recognizing when a situation is draining your energy and choosing to simply disengage.
Right.
It's about the power of indifference. The book tells this fascinating story of Lola Montez and King Ludwig I of Bavaria. She used this calculated indifference, like this playing hard to get, to gain power over the king. Crazy, right?
So instead of getting all wrapped up in the drama, sometimes the best move is to just walk away.
Exactly. Choose your battles, focus your energy where it matters.
Wow, that's a powerful concept. It makes you think, what situations in my life would benefit from a little strategic detachment? What am I clinging to that's actually just dragging me down?
We all have those situations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, last one for this segment. Law 40. Despise the free lunch.
All right, this one's all about recognizing that, well, nothing in life is truly free. Every gift, every favor usually comes with strings attached.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a free lunch. It's like a universal truth.
The book talks about that classic diamond hoax, where investors got so blinded by the prospect of free diamonds that they completely missed the scam.
Oh, yeah. It's a reminder to be wary of offers that seem too good to be true. Always look for those hidden costs.
Absolutely.
All right, that's a great place to wrap up this first part of our deep dive into the 48 laws of power. We've covered a lot of ground already, from, courting attention to understanding motivations. We even talked about boldness and strategic detachment.
It's been quite a ride, and there's so much more to explore.
Exactly. So stick around, folks. We'll be right back with more intriguing laws of power in part 2.
All right, welcome back. We're picking up where we left off, delving deeper into Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. And this next law, it really gets you thinking about legacy, about forging your own path.
Ooh, I'm intrigued. What law is that?
Law 41. Avoid stepping into a great man's shoes.
That's a good one. Makes you think about all those who came before us, and the pressure to live up to their achievements. But is it always a good thing to follow in someone's footsteps? I mean, is that always the best strategy?
It can be tricky, for sure. The book kind of contrasts these two examples. Louis XIV, the Sun King, he built this incredible, magnificent palace of Versailles,
Oh,
right?
yeah, talk about a legacy.
Exactly. But then you have his successor, Louis V, who, well, he really struggled to kind of fill his grandfather's shoes, and it ultimately held him back.
Oh, I see. So it's like you're trying to outshine the sun, you're bound to get burned.
Pretty much. So the question for you and for our listeners is, are you trying to follow in anyone's footsteps? And, how can you carve your own path while still learning from those who came before you? It's about finding that balance, right?
Yeah, honoring the past, but still, like, making your own mark on the world.
Exactly. Okay, so shifting gears a bit, let's look at a law that takes maybe a more strategic approach to power. Law 42. Strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter.
Okay, wow, that sounds a little intense. What's the thinking behind this one?
It's about understanding how groups work, the dynamics of leadership. If you target the leader, the one who's, the source of authority, the whole group can fall apart. Think about Ivan the Terrible. He used this tactic to really consolidate his power in Russia. He would kind of create this sense of crisis, this chaos, and then step in as the savior, the one who could restore order.
Wow, that's quite a power move. So it's not always about, brute force, but about being smart, understanding the dynamics of the group.
Exactly. It's like finding that pressure point, that linchpin that holds everything together.
Fascinating. Okay, what else do we have?
All right, let's move on to a law that takes a bit of maybe a more positive spin on things.
Okay, I like positive.
Law 43. Work on the hearts and minds of others.
Oh, I like the sound of that. So this one's about, winning people over, building trust and loyalty.
Exactly. It suggests that, real power comes from persuasion, from influence, not just from force. Think about someone like Zhuge Liang. He was this brilliant strategist in ancient China, and he won over his enemies not just through military might, but through genuine respect, understanding. He appealed to both their hearts and their minds.
It's like that saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
You have to build those connections, that rapport.
Absolutely. Okay, ready for one that's a little more tactical.
Bring it on.
All right, Law 44. Disarm and infuriate with the mirror effect.
Mirroring. Okay, this sounds intriguing. So are we talking about, like, using people's own tactics against them?
Yeah, kind of. It's about reflecting back their behavior, their words, even their emotions, as a way to disarm them and ultimately, control them. Napoleon and Talleyrand, their relationship was a constant game of mirroring, each trying to anticipate and outmaneuver the other.
Wow, sounds like some high-stakes mental chess.
It was. It requires a lot of finesse, a deep understanding of, how people work.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, what's next?
Law 45. Preach the need for change, but never reform too much at once.
Oh, that's an interesting one. So it's about implementing change, but like strategically.
Exactly. You have to find that balance, you know? It
Yeah.
emphasizes gradualism, introducing change slowly so you don't overwhelm people or alienate them. Think about England's transition from Catholicism to Protestantism. It was a long and often, well, turbulent process.
Makes sense, Change can be scary. People resist it.
They do. It's about respecting those existing power structures while also nudging things, in a new
All
direction.
right, got to be strategic about it.
Okay, what's next?
All right, get ready for this one. It might make you squirm a bit.
Oh, I love a good squirm.
Law 46. Never appear too perfect.
Whoa, wait, seriously. I
Yeah.
mean, we're always told to put our best foot forward, right? To be the best version of ourselves. So are we supposed to embrace our flaws now? It's not about being intentionally flawed, but about recognizing that, well, appearing too perfect, it can make other people envious, resentful. The book uses the example of Michelangelo, this brilliant artist. He was constantly being targeted by, jealous rivals.
The tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah.
People love to see someone rise, but they love to see them fall even more.
It's a shame, but it's true. So, yeah, it's a reminder that even in success, a little bit of, humility, a bit of strategic vulnerability, it can be a really powerful tool.
Interesting perspective. Okay, on to the next one.
Law 47. Do not go past the mark you aimed for. In victory, learn when to stop.
So knowing when to quit while you're ahead.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the dangers of, overreaching, getting greedy. The book uses the example of Cyrus the Great, who built this vast empire, but, he eventually overextended himself and it led to his downfall.
So it's about, setting those clear goals, celebrating your wins, but not constantly chasing after more and more and more.
Right. Sometimes the most strategic move is to, step back, take a breather, reassess.
I like it. Okay, what's the final law in our exploration?
All right, last but not least, Law 48. Assume formlessness.
Formlessness. Okay, that sounds pretty abstract. What's the takeaway here?
Think about the Spartans, they had this incredibly rigid social and military structure, and it ultimately made them vulnerable to, enemies who were more adaptable.
Oh, interesting. So it's about being like flexible, adaptable, like water, flowing around obstacles rather than trying to force your way through them.
You got it. It's about being responsive, not clinging to fixed plans or ideologies. In a world that's constantly changing, adaptability might just be the ultimate power move.
I love that. That's a fantastic way to wrap up this segment of our deep dive. We've explored so many fascinating strategies, everything from understanding how groups work to the power of persuasion, from humility to adaptability.
It's been quite a journey through the world of power dynamics, hasn't it?
It has. But we're not done yet. Stick around for part 3, where we'll wrap up our exploration of Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power with some final thoughts and reflections. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, and wow, what a journey it's been.
It really has. We've uncovered some pretty potent strategies along the way, but as we kind of come to the end here, I think it's important to take a step back and consider the bigger picture.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Robert Greene's laws, they offer these incredibly valuable insights into, human behavior and the way power works. But, at the end of the day, they're tools.
Exactly.
And just like any tool, they can be used for good or for, let's just say, not so good purposes.
That's such a crucial point. It's not enough to just understand these laws, We have to think about the ethics, the implications of how we actually use them.
Exactly. I mean, imagine someone using, Law 12, use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. If they're doing it to manipulate people, to deceive them for their own gain, that's a far cry from using honesty to build trust and, create genuine connection.
You're right. It really highlights the importance of approaching these laws with a critical eye.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the 48 Laws of Power, what's your final thought? What's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
That's a great question. I think the most important thing is this: true power. The kind that lasts, the kind that creates real positive change. It comes from using your knowledge wisely, ethically.
I love that. It's not just about climbing the ladder of power. It's about asking yourself, how can I use what I know to make a positive impact?
Exactly. It's about recognizing that power at its core is about influence, about collaboration, and ultimately about service,
Yeah.
service to something bigger than yourself.
So as we leave you to ponder these laws of power and how they might play out in your own life, we have one final question for you, dear listener. Which law resonated with you the most? And how can you apply these insights to your own life in a way that aligns with your values and maybe, just maybe, makes the world a little bit better?
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep striving to use your knowledge wisely.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. Until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep.